What's up, dudes? So I've had a few requests over the year inquiring about my origin story of how I got into EQ back in the day. Most recently by Les LaMarche, about 7 hours ago from this post, at least from when I took the screenshot of the post. So I thought that maybe, it's time for me to do a video of me telling the origin story over some stock footage of me playing EverQuest. Hopefully I don't bore you too much, but here we go. It started back in the year 2000. I was a freshman in high school. I was sitting in the bleachers of PE class. I overheard a conversation behind me about video games. I was a gamer myself, so I couldn't help but drop some eaves.
I ain't been dropping no eaves, sir, honest.
They were talking about some game called EverQuest. I had heard of the game before, but I'd never really seen it. At the time, I was balls deep in Diablo 2. I was probably 14 at this point, and had mostly moved on from console gaming. I loved me some Final Fantasy, and The Legend of Zelda, of course. I still had consoles to play those games, and a, numerous amount of fighting games that I was passionate about. Shout out to Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection that was just released, and Capcom vs. SNK in the upcoming Capcom Fighting Collection 2 coming out next year. Just a little shout out. I'm about that life, but that's a story for another time. Before we go on, I need to speak of my cousin and my birthing into PC gaming. My older cousin was a computer super nerd, and he taught me how to build computers when I was about 11 or 12. This was a luxury back then. It wasn't super common for households to have a PC at the time, let alone a gaming-capable PC, let alone self-building your gaming PC. I was very fortunate, this I know. Furthermore, I had an uncle that was a programmer, predating this era. So even before, we were building the PCs, I had an uncle that was into computer programming, which was even more rare back in this time. I mean, someone had to do it, but it wasn't every day you knew someone who did it. That's what I'm trying to get at. So the combination of my uncle and my cousin helping me, we were able to convince my parents to buy the parts to build my very own gaming PC. I started this with the year 2000 bit, but I'm already back to year 1996, 97. Anyways, due to my cousin and my introductory to PC gaming, I was playing some games like Doom and Warcraft, Orcs and Humans, maybe a little Leisure Suit Larry, on my cousin's computer. But by the time I got my own PC up and running, I was prostate deep in Warcraft 2 and the likes of Diablo 1. I started making friends at school who also had PCs. Around the time Diablo 2 came out, and unbeknownst to me, EverQuest. This brings me back to the year 2000. So there I was in PE class, dropping no eaves. And like the little prick I was, I turned around to those voices I heard behind me talking about EverQuest. And I said, "Oh yeah, you play EverQuest?" To which one of them replied, "Yes." I then said, "Oh wow, that game sucks." I'm not proud of this moment, but it happened. I did refer to myself as a little prick right back there. I am happy for this interaction, though, because in that moment, I met one of my best friends, and subsequently, more of my best friends, along with the best game ever made. No, we didn't just instantly become friends with my charming, cool story, bro, that game sucks comment. But we did have a class together, PE. My future friend was very outgoing and not discouraged by my being a complete asswipe. Soon thereafter, though, we got to talking. We were both gamers at the end of the day. I'm sure you all remember the late 90s, early 2000s. It wasn't cool to be a nerd gamer back then, like it is now. Nowadays, gamers and nerds run the world. So this new friend of mine was so infatuated with EQ, he felt compelled to tell me about it. He had recently moved to our city from not too far away. But he had met some immediate neighbors of his, like in the immediate vicinity. I mean, I was a neighbor of his, only, the next neighborhood over. But he met a couple of bros that were his immediate neighbors, around the same age as him, who introduced him to EQ. If you watch a lot of my videos, you may start putting together these now new friends of mine in the year 2000. Turned out to be Alex Jones, 211, and The Mage. The Mage has been in quite a few videos, going back to P99. The other two you've just seen in a small stint here on Quarm. Alex Jones being the first one I met, the one I met at school, on those faded bleachers that day. 211 being his brother, and The Mage was one of the neighbors of them. There's more than this, more, people we played EverQuest with, more friends in the neighborhood. But these are the names you'll recognize. So I informed my new friend that I had heard of this EverQuest game that he had started playing, and that, in fact, I believe I have a copy of this game somewhere at my house. This was a wild coincidence. My older sister is a tomboy. She hung out with a lot of, mostly boys back in the day. And she was considerably older than me. And she had a couple of friends who were giga gamers back then, before the term was even minted. Long side story short, one of her friends was an innocent bystander of a drive-by shooting. He became paralyzed from the waist down for life. But he gained his fortune due to this accident. He decided to buy a house, build a couple computers, and for the lack of a better label, dedicated his life to playing EverQuest. He had his best friend move into his house with him and do all like the grocery shopping, chores and stuff that were more easily done by a fully functioning body. And he would pay for everything else. Back in this time, things were cheaper, right? And with whatever settlement he got, he could afford this. So his friend was like, his caretaker. And they played EQ all day, every day. And were completely decked out in EverQuest. So I went home and I rummaged through my mother's office looking for this EQ box that I knew I had seen. I found it, and I found it unused. I asked my sister about it. I was like, why do you have this? And why is it unused, etc.? She told me about her friends at this point. I knew of them, but I didn't know they played EverQuest or anything. But, she told me the whole story about everything and how in their current situation. And they had convinced her to buy the game, thinking, maybe, she'll play it with them or whatever. But when she brought it home, she then, abruptly found out that you need to pay a monthly subscription and put a credit card info in and everything. And then she was like, all right, dude, like, I'm not a gamer like this. She didn't want to play that much. So it sat there. I inherited the game. And this is where I convinced my mother to give me that sub. She was just happy to have me at home being a nerd and not out drinking, doing drugs like, most kids in high school. At 50 cents a day, it's a small price to pay for that kind of peace of mind when you're a parent. My sister said her friends were rich, and rich in-game. And she reached out to them to see which server they played on. I asked her. She said they would hook us up with gear and money Turned out they played on Brutoculus. And so at that point, we knew which server was going to be our new home. My friend helped me make my first EverQuest character. At this point, he and the other friends had already gotten some reps in. They had been playing on another server for a bit, by the time I joined in at least. They were willing to change servers and start over with the promises of these riches from these friends of my sister hooking us up. We all know how hard it is to start new characters in Norwrath back in the original day of, EverQuest. With no pre-existing knowledge, no guides, no YouTube. We were on 56K internet, for Christ's sakes. My friends suggest I make a gnome wizard. Legit, I make the character and literally cannot find my way out of Akanon. Nowadays, I'd probably punch a guard and get teleported out to the front, But I had no idea what I was doing. It was a damp, dirty, dark maze. I got really frustrated fast. I straight up just quit the game that day. I told my friend this game is stupid. I said, I can't find my way out of this place, can't see anything. I'm already addicted to Diablo 2, another game. It was a good run. EverQuest. It was a good run. Of course, the story doesn't end there. I honestly think I convinced my friend to play Diablo 2 with me for a while before he then convinces me to give EverQuest another shot. This time, he said he's got a few levels. He can play with me and, help me get started. He told me to, take my time, look into all the classes, choose something that I would want to play. I landed on a troll warrior named Bonch. Now, Bonch was my group of friends' word for what's now referred to as a gooch. Fitting for a troll. My friend was playing a cleric, so we made a, decent enough team to kill stuff, get groups going. I have really fond memories, really early memories of Crushbone and the likes. This friend also showed me the island in Ocean of Tears with the mermaids. I know you know the one by this point. The good old days. Just a couple of small town boys, born and raised in West Freeport. This was our neck of the woods. A couple of our other friends were more keen to Kino's side. Idiots, am I right? Wrong. I'm now a Kino's convert. Granted, this doesn't really work for evil races, But if you're good or a neutral race, I'm going to go ahead and say Kinos is the best starting area. When it comes to leveling and money making at least, at early levels, it's really freaking good. So here we are, fully addicted to EverQuest and not looking back. So this is an origins story that I'm telling here. So, we're just about finished up with, the origins, but let's touch on a few things. Let's fast forward to the part where I get the character names of my sister's Giga Gamer friends and tell them, yo, where's the hookup? So then in the game, they ask us exactly where we're at so they can come pay us a visit. Man, we are so excited. These guys are supposed to be absolutely loaded, rich. So we're like, holy crap, man, here they come, dude. And here they show up. We're like, wow, they're max level. That's insane. Us being the noobs. We're like, why aren't they trading us yet? And it's like, hey, let's inspect them. Let's check them out. What do they got? We're like, oh my god, he's dual-wielding scepters of destruction? Are those flayed barbarian leggings? The other guy has a blade of carnage, helm of Ralazek, raid gear too. These are just, those are the items we know of because we're noobs and we know what's for sale. Basically, we don't know too much about bind on pickup or what is it? No drop raid gear, How's that ogre warrior in skeleton form? That's so cool. Of course, like an amulet of necropotence or something. We're like, holy shit, we're going to get kitted out. So then they dance around, get their flex on, they're trotting around some of us like starstruck noobs, and then suddenly they're gone. all the adrenaline starts to deplete. Our heart rates start going back to normal. As we're realizing, they just wanted to show off and nothing else. We were crushed, back then. But as an adult, I could recognize that this was for the best. We got to experience EQ as it was intended. The funny thing is that I don't even think they played past Velius. So, I mean, this took place in Velius, obviously, by the gear I rattled off. But I think, they were done by the time Luckland came out. So, I think when we first rolled on Burtox, it was like late Kunark or early Velius, one of the two. But I think by the end of Velius, they were done. And I don't know whatever happened to them or their gear. Just rotted. I eventually got this troll warrior, Bonch, into his 40s. I have vivid memories of finding out how Dreadlands got its name. I was there for so freaking long. I eventually burned out, wanted to try something else. I had my eye on a bard for a long time at this point. As you may know, I really love bards, even though you probably haven't seen me play one. Haven't played one in years myself. The idea of a bard, though, how they twist songs, they're just hauling ass, running past you, the jack of all trades. It just really blew my mind back then. Still to this day, it's great. I made a bard named Choc, C-H-O-C. It's Children's Hospital of California. Well, Southern California. I don't think there's an S in it, though, in the acronym, so it was Choc. Yeah, I know. I'm not very creative when it comes to naming things. But anyways, I love this bard. This was the character I was getting to max level. I knew it. I was hauling ass. Not just run speed. Leveling. So at this point, I'm in like my mid-50s. We run into a hiccup. There was light at the end of the tunnel. Mid-50s, almost to max level. Much time had gone by, between this and the warrior that I was playing. Bonch. I joined guilds, left guilds, met people, played alts, EverQuest stuff back in the day. Along the way, some guy had given me gear. Can't remember his name. I can't remember the names of almost anybody. I remember a couple of big names on the server. It's neither here nor there. I can't remember this guy's name, or most people's names. The guy eventually wanted his stuff back, and I wasn't in the position to give him his stuff back. They were now my things. I didn't have backup gear. I was poor. It would leave me naked at this point, and I'm on the final stretch. He told me if I didn't give him his stuff back, he has a friend who's a GM, and he's going to have me banned. I said, yeah, sure, buddy. My dad's a GM, too. Essentially, calling his bluff. Not even an hour later, I was disconnected from the server, and my account was banned. I did contact customer service and, try to go through the rigmarole for some help. And I got an email saying I was banned for stealing items. They could have said I was banned for not giving items back, but in hindsight, and of course as an adult, I realized I should have just given the items back and moved on, I didn't think I was in the wrong, though. And I didn't think I would actually be banned, of course. And I was a shitty little teenager anyways, let's not sugarcoat it. I was pretty crushed, though, at this point. Took a break from EverQuest. Played a bunch of Diablo 2, Lord of Destruction. Played some Half-Life, some Counter-Strike. All your faith, all your faith, belong to us. I made my triumphant return to EverQuest, and like the big dum-dum I am, I decided I want to be a warrior again. Warrior mains be warrior mains. And in the early part of my gaming life, I was always a warrior kind of guy. This time, though, I made a Wood Elf warrior. Yeah, I know.
Idiot!
My name was aborted. My idea was that someday I would get my warrior epic, right? And my name would then there be Aborted Jedi.
'Cause I'm hella cool, that's why.
Well, on my way to max level, I tried out a number of inappropriate surnames, which kept getting removed. I'll let you go ahead and You can use your imagination on this. The final straw was instead of banning me though, thankfully, they used an underscore as my surname so that I could no longer submit a surname. You know, if they took away your surname, you could just do another surname. So they're like, all right, this guy just keeps doing dumbass surnames. We got to do something. So they gave me an underscore as my surname, probably flagged my character or account or something saying, if this guy asks to get his surname removed, don't do it. Something along those lines, probably. What this did, though, is it pushed my name slightly off center to the left. And it's really bothered or intrigued people. It was a mystery for most. I knew why it was like that, of course. It was a conversation piece, if you would. Interesting. Always a little to the left. This is my first character that I maxed out in Classic EverQuest. I didn't get that epic, though. Nor did I get the surname. I mean, I could have gotten the surname at any point, but I was going to get that surname when it wouldn't make sense if I didn't have my epics, right? I'm just some wood elf with the name Jedi. I did, however, I eventually got an Ogre Warrior with epics, so that was cool. I continued to play EverQuest through Omens of War. Was it? Yeah, Omens of War. However, when World of Warcraft came out, I bounced back and forth a few times. Small stint with EQ2. I guess that would be right before World of Warcraft. Before ultimately quitting both EverQuest 1 and 2 and playing WoW full time. Eventually P99 came out around 2010, I think. And then I bounced around P99, WoW, a couple of TLPs. Never played live EverQuest ever again, though, after Omens of War. That was it. I've heard some good things about some of those expansions. Even on the TLPs I played on, I quit. By LDON, I'm done. That's my timeline. That's where I like it. P99 was my permanent home, though. That was my perma home. Until, of course, green comes out, so you move from blue to green. Never really finished my story on green. But Quarm came out. And I'm a pop fanboy at heart, so Quarm became my new home. And I still like P99. And I'm sure I may return to those characters at some point. Especially when Quarm is into Lucklin and Pop era. That's when P99 will regain its position in the world of private servers, in my opinion. It'll regain its luster, because it'll be its thing. It'll be the original trilogy. Whereas at that point, Quarm will be up to Pop. And so there's a difference. There's more of a reason to play them both, or in my mind, this is how it works. But yeah, this is basically my origin story of finding EQ and why it's still part of my life today. Hopefully this didn't bore y'all too much. A few people had requested to hear the tale. So thanks for listening, and I will see you in the next video.